Hello, I'm Al Mad Right at Fort Nerd, and things are a little bit different here. I hope you'll excuse the mess. Um, okay, so this video is about something that's been bothering me recently, and I do mean very recently. In fact, as recently as about 4 minutes ago. Um, there's this whole pose debacle about about a new character in a game called Overwatch. As far as I can tell, Overwatch is a MOBA. I have no interest in it. I haven't played it. I haven't really looked at it. But for the sake of this argument, I did look up this character. And the argument is that this character is being portrayed overly sexually. So, first, let me explain this pose. I'm going to get up for a minute, so nobody panic. The pose is much like this. And the people who make the argument that this character is being over-sexualized say that your eye is immediately drawn to the character's butt, and that makes it overly sexual. Furthermore, not only does this make it overly sexual, but it is out of character for the character. Now, I'm not going to make any particular side here. Of course, you all know me. I'm like any normal guy. So, I don't find this pose very sexual. And I'm sure there are a lot of other people who don't either. And especially not after seeing me do it, but that's beside the point. Tracer, and I'm going off of the information that I've been able to find, Tracer, aka Lena Oxton, is a pilot. More specifically, a test pilot for the Overwatch group and one of their newest vehicles. Their newest vehicle, I forget what it's called offhand, I don't actually have notes with me, but their newest vehicle is a type of high-speed stealth flyer. And she got her powers because after she flew this ship, she had a bit of an accident, and now her molecules and atoms aren't staying in the right place. That thing that's on her chest is a device that has been used to keep her in one place. I'm seeing a lot of likenesses to the Flash the more I think about it. There is no information about her personality published anywhere online. She is essentially a blank slate at this point. And so are the rest of the casts, from what I've seen. So, Miss Oxton, or Lena, I find it odd that there are people who are arguing that this character is being overly sexualized, but then again, they don't even bother to mention her real name. You know, her real name is Lena. Her tag or superhero name or alias, whatever you want to call it, is Tracer, but her real name is Lena. Why is nobody bringing that up? She's a very fast character, sort of like a glass cannon or a rogue or something like that. You want to try to avoid head-on combat with her, and that's basically all I can find, because it doesn't look like Blizzard actually, gave her a personality yet. But from what we've seen in the game, she's very energetic, a very happy sort of person. She's also a test pilot, which means she's pretty dang brave. Of course, she's a hero and fighting bad guys anyway, so we knew that. The test pilot's job itself requires a bit of cockiness. Of course, I say that only after watching years of TV. I don't actually know any test pilots or anything. Um, and in the last bit of information I could find about herself, the creators and other people on the development team compared her to Spider-Man. And of course, there's nothing sexual about Spider-Man at all. Um, my question is, A, why would you think this pose is sexual? I certainly don't, but then again, I'm on the more extreme edge of a lot of things. Uh, 2, how do you know this character's personality? I mean, it's kind of odd that we're arguing about a character's personality. This isn't even a real person. But if you want to argue about the character's personality, she's cocky, she's very confident, she's still a woman, and contrary to popular opinion, women like sex as much as guys do. She's apparently young, not as young as some of the members on the team, but still very young. Why can't she be a bit of a flirt? Why couldn't she be saying, hey guys, look at my butt, isn't it cute? Why not? Why would that be against her character? Well, first of all, the obvious problem is, well, if she's underage. And that's the first thing that screamed at me. I looked at her face and I automatically assumed, yeah, this girl's like 16, right? Her age is never announced. And there is a female member of the heroic team, and she's basically a 12-year-old Japanese schoolgirl who uses a mech suit. So, yeah. Anyhow, looked up this person's age, couldn't find it. She is a pilot, a professional pilot. So that would mean, in my mind, she's at least 18. But we don't know because they never said. So there's that out of the way. 2. Well, not 2, but continuing on that point. There's a lot of things about personalities that A, we don't tell everyone, and B, even if we do tell some people, we don't make readily apparent. Me, for instance. You don't know some of the darker stuff I'm into, but I'm into some pretty dark stuff. Also, you wouldn't know a person's religious affiliation just by looking at them. Okay? If you see a person wearing a Christian cross, you automatically assume they're Christian. And I can tell you, if this character was born in America, it's a pretty good bet that she would be a Christian. But they don't tell us what religion she belongs to. And there's nothing on the character that makes it obvious that she's Christian. So there's that. I know a lot of women who are not overtly sexual, but are proud of the way they look, are proud of their bodies, and don't mind showing it. In case the massive numbers of women who are wearing bikinis and post their pictures on Facebook, you can be proud of how you look and not mean it to be sexual. Even if a woman is overtly sexual and overtly flirtatious, are they going to outright tell you that they are? Is one pose they make while they're sitting there drinking their coffee going to tell you that? No. And furthermore, the only way we would be able to see how this character feels and what this character thinks and does and their motivations behind it would be is if we observe it. If they release a comic book or a novel, and Blizzard do have a lot of novels about their characters, you need only to look to the World of Warcraft series for that, or through gameplay. But we're never going to see this now, because a fan got upset and said that this was out of character and overly sexual. Now we'll never know. Okay? I'm not one for sexualizing women. Unless they want it. And I'm not one for also saying that women could never be sexual if they want to be. That limits the person. That limits the character. Why would it be wrong for her to be sexual? Why can't she be flirty? A young, confident, probably fully mature woman has the right to express herself whatever way she'd wish to express. Maybe she is a notorious flirt. Maybe she just wanted to show her butt. Maybe, like most people who are confident with their body and they pose for pictures on Facebook, they don't think that they're going to receive that kind of attention. Like the women who wear low-cut blouses. They don't expect that kind of attention. They're just wearing a shirt. Maybe that's what's going on here. And now there is an entire facet to a brand new character that we're probably never going to see. And mostly because, more than likely, Blizzard never thought about this to begin with. The reason why they retracted it is for one of two reasons. One, they didn't think of it. They're like, hey, let's put up a quick pose of this character. I don't care what it looks like, just do it fast so we can put it in the game. Or two, they changed it because they didn't want anyone else to get mad. We've seen how women's activist groups and religious activist groups and other kinds of activist groups have changed TV, movies, and games. There was a very similar incident to this not so long ago with the game Smite, where the god Shiva, the main god of destruction, goddess of destruction, excuse me, was called over-sexualized by the religious community. Even though the descriptions given of her in the religious text have her with large breasts, and if not outright exposing them, barely covering them at all, barely having a anything to cover her stomach or her chest, and more often than not, wearing something that is not fully a skirt, like at all, if anything close to that. And the religious community came up and said, you know what? That's not right. That's over-sexualizing our God. And yet, going by historical depictions of this God, I mean, if you can't make it look like what the religion themselves are telling you it looks like, then what can you do with it? Another thing you probably know about me by now is that I have horrible allergies. Anyway. And again, there are some people who are trying to defend Blizzard who will point out other characters. In the case of Shiva, goddess of destruction, there was also Aphrodite, whose character is the goddess of love. And because she is the goddess of love, she is dressed in very risque and scant clothing, and nobody seems to have a problem with that one. If I'm correct, they did later change that, but that's beside the point. there is also a variable like this with Overwatch and Miss Oxton. I'm just going to pronounce it that way anyway. It's a British name, I can tell. And of course, the character herself is overtly British by the accent, I guess. But anyway, there's also a slightly more seductive female by the name of Black Widow, because she's a spider, and the only name that you can give a spider-based female is Black Widow, apparently. Why did no one get on that? The name Black Widow for a female character dealing with spiders sounds so generic and so bland at this point. But Black Widow or whatever her name is, she has a helmet that has several eyes on it. Her costume is very dark. It's purple. It accentuates her legs. And it shows nearly her whole back. Again, a lot of emphasis on her butt, so you can't blame that solely on Miss Oxton. And this character is, frankly, a lot more sexualized than her. So, why is it that Oxton is called over-sexualized while Widow isn't? And of course, Widow's like a spy and whatnot, and of course she's a bad guy and she's robbing the museum and whatnot, but still, personally, I would hope that they would dive into this, because, you know, a lot of the good heroes have a very stark contrast to their villain. We have Superman, who's a red-blooded Kansas farm boy, and his ultimate villain is Lex Luthor. While Superman is very bright and cheery, Lex Luthor is very black and white. He's always got on a suit, he's always wearing dark colors, you always find him inside. Superman wears bright colors, and you always find him outside, more than likely helping someone. And then there's Batman and the Joker. Well, I wouldn't agree that the Joker's the ultimate villain of the Batman universe, but that's the title people have given him, so that's what I'm going to use. And Batman, of course, is very dark and very brooding. His costume mostly comprising of black, or at least darker colors thereof. And the Joker is usually very flamboyant, wearing very bright colors, very bright makeup. His style of combat and method of crime revolves around humor. As dark and incredibly tasteless as it is, it's humor and it makes him laugh, and that's the whole point. I, for one, looked at these two characters while comparing them, and I'm like, you know what? Tracer / Oxton has been made into the front cover hero, and Widow is basically her polar opposite from what I've seen. Why don't these two get into, like, one of those faded scraps from the arcade cabinets, you know? If this was a fighting team on a fighting game, each character would have their polar opposite destined fight. And I can see that happening. Those two can totally go at it all day. One last thing I want to bring up, again, sort of, is Miss Oxton's age. Now, like I said, I automatically assumed she was underage, because that's what a lot of games do, and that's how a lot of things are done nowadays. But there is clearly only one female, as far as I've seen, only one female character, and as far as I know, only one character, period, who looks any younger than her. And like I said, it's a 12-year-old Japanese schoolgirl. But from what I've seen of the other female characters, they don't look that young. Like I said, you could basically put Oxton at being 18, or at least her early 20s. You can see her cheekbones haven't exactly flattened out. You can see things in her face that suggest that she isn't fully grown. But if you look at all of the other women, they seem much older, much more mature, much more developed. They're definitely much more serious about their job. Some of them are a lot less goofy. There is an angel chick who basically rips off the design of the Archon from another game. I still forget the name of that game. This is the second take. And then there's elements borrowed there from what could very well be the angels from the Diablo universe. Because basically the wings on the back of her outfit are made of light, and they very much resemble the Archon class from that game where you shoot the aliens. I can't remember it right now. And the other thing I thought was that very clearly is supposed to represent Tyrael, or at least one of the angels, from the Diablo games. And she looks pretty much like a full adult. Widow obviously looks like a very full adult. There's another female character that I found, and she is in a mech suit, but hers is a much more fitting mech suit. Like, where the little girl's mech suit is much more like power armor. Hers looks like she's piloting a Gundam. And I mean a Gundam. And again, there's a lot of angelic sort of things on her suit. It's blue by default, if I'm not mistaken. The wings, again, are made of light. It could just be an alternate costume. I'm not even sure. Like I said, I have no real knowledge of the game, but that's what I'm trying to point out here. I don't have that much knowledge of the game. I looked it up on the internet, and there's not that much knowledge of the game, except how to actually play it, of course. We don't know what these characters are like. We don't know how many of them there will be in the future, whether these characters will even survive to the sequel, if there is a sequel. How can you say that an action is out of character for a character that we don't know? Anyway, I wanted to say that. I wanted to say my piece and tell you what I found, and obviously that's not very much, but I've been blathering on for a while now, and you're all probably very tired of looking at me in my very zombie-like complexion. So, I'll let you go for now. If you like this, I'm going to be putting this up on the Facebook page. So if you like this, go over to the Fort Nerd page and watch some of the Fort Nerd videos. Miv would have been much better at this sort of thing, but I can't seem to get her attention. Go over there and tell her to make videos again. I may or may not see you guys later today, but if I don't, I'll see you later anyway, so